Hi, this is Heidi from Garden Crossings, and we are at the garden center today, and I'm going to take you for a walk through the gardens. It is the beginning of September, and everything is just looking amazing still out in the landscape. We've had a really nice summer and now going into fall, so hopefully these plants just continue to go for, I'm guessing, another maybe good month or so before they really start kind of petering out. We are located at a zone 5B, 6A. And a lot of the plants that you'll be seeing here are going to be a mix of annuals, perennials, and shrubs. And these are all plants that do well here in West Michigan. So let's take a walk through the garden and see what's blooming. So in the front of the garden center, we've been really pleased with how the plants have done this year. It looks totally different than if you would look back to my May videos. We have the Salvia Rockin' Playin' the Blues. And this it's a planting of three plants, and it just got huge. Like, I wasn't even envisioning it to get this big, and it is just absolutely huge and gorgeous, and the pollinators are all over this thing right now. Also, we have the cerveza and lime, which smells really nice. It kind of has that nice margarita smell to it when you rub your hands across it. Just kind of a nice green thriller. I don't know if we would do that again because I would rather have a little color in its place than the green, but that's a great plant if you're looking for something that's kind of that touchy-feely plant that gives you a fragrance. It's a great plant for that. We also have the gold dust, and I've been really pleased with how gold dust has done this year. Just a great border plant that just really has a beautiful pop of that yellow flower color, and I certainly would do that one again because I'm loving how that looks. And then the new Supertunia Vista Jazzberry that was new for this year has just done phenomenal, and certainly that's one that I would do again as well. So I definitely would go ahead and repeat this look next year, probably eliminating the cerveza and lime, maybe using something different in its place, but maybe just adding more of the gold dust along the border just to give that framed in look with the yellow. But overall, we've been very pleased with how these annuals have done this year. The aquapots also have done very well. This one here is now taller than me. And what we have been doing is we've been trimming along the bottom there because the aquapots, you know, it's an expensive piece of garden art, so you really want to show that off. So we've been trimming up the petunias to keep the aquapot exposed. Although you will notice there are some Dichondra silver falls in there. We are letting those plants go long because that's kind of just the coolness of that plant. So those are kind of dangling there around the bottom of the pot. There's the Vista, I think this is the Vista Whiteout. If not, it's Mini Vista White, but I think that might be the Whiteout, along with the Supertunia Magenta, and those have done fabulous. We've got the Coleus here. It's done really well, kind of a nice filler. A few of the fuchsia salvias, there's a bee in that one right now, and those have really grown nice and tall and kind of filled out this container well. Here's some of the purple salvias, and then the palm trees up at the top, just to give that nice, always in color, because it's green, look to the containers. So really have been very pleased with the aquapots this year as well. Let's take a look at a few more aquapots and walk along the north side of the garden to check out the new plant bed. I'm going to walk you through our new plant bed, and this has a lot of the new annuals for 2023. We also have a nice mix of perennials in here as well, just so that it's constantly changing. Right now, though, I was just saying that it really looks like a jungle in this space. Everything is just filled in so nicely, and maybe even a little extra. So definitely, like, there is no ground showing in this area. But let's take a look at what's in here and what's blooming. So the most predominant plant I think that I have in my home garden as well as here is the Alstroemeria Inca Ice. This blooms from early spring until late fall. Even if we get a light frost, this plant will continue to go. It's even bloomed as long as November here in Michigan. So Alstroemeria Inca Ice, beautiful, beautiful plant. Here's a new begonia. This is a surefire begonia, cordial cherry, beautiful glossy dark foliage with that bright radiant red. And this plant, this is a grouping of 3 plants. Look how huge it got. It's about 3 foot tall right now, and it's just done phenomenal here in this. Really, it's a full sun type of garden. Just such beautiful glossy foliage there. Other things to point out would be the Queen Tut cypress grass. queen tut is kind of nestled against the back of the fence there. We'll have other ones I'll point out along the way as well. But just a very nice, fairly compact plant, about 2 foot tall or so. Smaller seed heads, or the flower tufts on them. Really, I've been really impressed with that new queen tut grass. In this area here, we have a mix of a lot of the new plants. There is the Mini Vista Midnight, that's the purple. That's part of the Supertunia family, along with Supertunia Mini Vista Yellow. Just kind of happened to be, we planted them together and they really create a very nice mix of color, and they're doing fabulous with their nice mounding, spreading habit. Also, you'll notice a new Nemesia, that is the Aromance Mulberry, and that plant I have been so impressed with this year. It's gone through the full summer and it's continued to bloom all summer long. Just gorgeous purple flowers. We also have mixed in here the Bright Lights Osteospermum, Sunset Horizon, or Horizon Sunset I think is what it's called. And typically the osteos shut down in the heat of the summer, but this plant has been deadheaded and it continues to give flowers all summer long. In the back there we have a beautiful pink mink clematis that's bloomed, I think that's been in bloom for at least 6 if not 8 weeks right now. Just continuing to give us some flowers there next to the Pugster butterfly bush. This aquapot here has some salvia, along with some angelonia, that is Wedgwood blue, Superbell's Tropical Sunrise, and Medusa sweet potato vine. Really kind of created a neat combination there. The Medusa has really a fun, I think, texture to it for a sweet potato vine. In the back there, and I haven't been out here in probably about 3 weeks or so really paying attention to the flowers, but in the back here, look at this upside sweet potato vine. This is a new sweet potato vine for 2023. It's a climber, so if you put a trellis with it, it'll climb the trellis, and that's almost 4 foot tall right now. This one is called, I think it's called Dark Coffee or Coffee, but beautiful dark foliage, great for climbing up trellises, or if you put it in a container, hanging basket, it'll trail over really far and look really beautiful. Opening Act Phlox is in bloom right now. I believe this is the blush variety. This one was trimmed back earlier this summer. So what you're seeing here now, this is all a rebloom. And that is one nice thing with the Opening Act Phlox, is once they're done blooming in the early summer, give them a light trim and they're back at blooming again for color later on in the season. Some more of the new annuals. We have the Superbell's Double Yellow, along with the Superbell's Prism Pink Lemonade. The Pink Lemonade is kind of fizzling out at this point in this season, but I've loved the tricolor effect that it's given with the hot pink, the yellow, and then the kind of the blend of both of the colors. It's done really nicely. Also, Lobelia Dark Blue has, Dark Blue with Eye has gotten improved, and that's done good through the heat of the summer as well. So just a really beautiful splash of blue if you're looking to add blue into the garden. Some Swedish ivy, I didn't really know what that would do. I've never grown that before. Just kind of a ground cover, nice variegated foliage there, but definitely it's filling in a lot of space. In the back we have Echinacea, that is the color-coded One in a Melon, new variety there, and you can see as the flowers kind of are at their different stages of just opening up to towards the end of the bloom cycle, you're getting a little variation there of color, which I think is kind of neat, kind of giving a just that nice blend of color that all looks good together. But I don't know, I think I like the fresh open flower color the best, but even in the end when the flowers are fading, they still look pretty nice. This aquapot here is filled with the Wicked Witch Coleus, Jet Black Sweet Potato Vine. This is Diamond Mountain Euphorbia, and then Coral Sun Superbells. I love the color of that Coral Sun. That was a new variety for this year, and that's doing really nice here planted in this container. New for 2023 is the Supertunia Persimmon, which is kind of a pinky color, kind of fades into yellow in the center. Really a very vibrant color of Supertunia. I think that one will be pretty hot for next year. I don't know. What do you think about it? And then it's mixed here with Mini Vista Scarlet, which is also a new Supertunia for 2023. The Pugster butterfly bush is doing amazing. This is Pugster Blue, and not only is it loaded with beautiful flowers, it's so fragrant. So standing here right now, it smells heavenly with these butterfly bushes blooming. Just a beautiful plant, compact, and if you're looking to add a little fragrance to the garden, this is a great plant that will add that little bit of fragrance, attract the butterflies. Just a perfect little plant in my opinion. Some of the Daisy May Leucanthemum are reblooming again. Those were trimmed back and now we're getting some secondary blooms on them. Their primary bloom is the nicest show of color, but anytime you can get these bonus blooms, it's great. As we continue down this garden, it's going to be kind of a mirror image of where we've already been. So unless if there's something that pops out as something different, we'll just kind of walk through and let you look at the different plants in this garden. We will stop here. This is Asclepias tuberosa. It is towards the end of its flower cycle and there's just a ton of buds on here, which are filled with seeds. This is a host plant for the monarch butterfly. So we want to make for sure that we have a lot of these in our gardens because if we want the monarchs, this is the type of plant we need. I do want to point out something though. I had somebody the other day ask me, I've got these orange aphids all over my Asclepias. I just want to trim them back because I don't like the looks of them. So I want to point out on here what we're seeing, and if you're seeing it, it's okay. I mean, aphids aren't great, but to kill an aphid, you're going to have to use something that's going to kill either the eggs or the caterpillars. So we just leave them be because they're really not harming anything and they're really not harming the plant either. So if you are in the garden and you see anything that looks like this, those are orange aphids. And it's kind of the nature of the beast when you're having Asclepias in the garden or milkweed in the garden, is oftentimes you are going to find aphids on them, and we just deal with it. Another plant I didn't point out earlier is the Dianthus. This is the Dianthus Paint the Town Fancy. This was an early spring blooming or early summer blooming perennial. They were trimmed back, and really all summer we've been getting just one or two little blooms on the plant, but now here that it's later in the season, it really has a pretty good secondary show of color. So a great plant again that you get those bonus blooms out of. Allium Millennium was blooming, I believe, in the last video. This right here is what's left of it. The beautiful spears above the grassy looking foliage. You can leave them or you can trim them. We just leave them for interest because they are still pretty interesting in the garden. But if you have this going on and you don't like the looks, go ahead and trim those flowers off. Another new sweet potato vine for 2023 is the Upside, and I don't remember the name, so we'll pop this one on the screen. But it's this beautiful chartreuse green color. Again, climbs up the trellis, although our trellis you can see was just one little stick, so it didn't do a great job. But you can see how it's mingling through the garden, and a really great color. That bright splash of that chartreuse green I think looks really nice. Some Nymphophias in the back there. Those are Nymphophia Backdraft. A great perennial for full sun, drought tolerant, and just really I think a very unique look. Pairs well with daylilies if you have daylilies, or you can see we have it paired with a lot of other things as well. But really I love the look of that, and I'm not really an orange person, I've said that before, but I do like the look of the orange in the Nymphopias. Here is the new Lantana, and I'm going to put the name on the screen of this one. This is new for 2023. And that plant there is almost probably 18 to 24 inches tall. A really crisp, clean yellow, a nice bright yellow, drought tolerant plant for full sun, doing wonderfully. We have it paired with the queen tut grass behind it. And then in the front is the penny pink sweet potato vine. Not penny pink. The name will come to me in a minute. But beautiful, kind of that coppery, dark purpley foliage. I don't know, I love it. I have it in my containers at home, and here you can see it on the ground, and it's doing fabulous. And then as we walk along, you're just going to see a lot of repeats with the Supertunia Mini Vistas, the Nemesia mulberry, Oh, tucked in the back here, here's another one. This is the Buddleia pinker, and that is a great pugster butterfly bush too. Beautiful pink blooms. Again, the fragrance is wonderful. Paired here next to the Atlas rose, which just continues to flower all summer long. Beautiful peachy orange blooms. And then this one here, this is the Firelight Tidbit, and this one looks like it either got dry or our overhead sprinklers got on it and has turned the flowers brown. But this was absolutely gorgeous about 3 weeks ago, and just a very nice, cute, compact plant, only about 2 foot tall, maybe 2 to 3 foot wide. I'm hoping it stays this size because I think this would be the great next level of Bobo, where it's a smaller plant, but just full flower coverage, beautiful coloration. I love the new Firelight Tidbits. This is an improved moss rose. This is Mojave Yellow. Larger flowers, better flower coverage, and I mean, this plant is really just trailing all over this garden and doing a good job of filling it in. Planted behind it is a new Coleus family. It's the Mini Me watermelon. It stays very compact, beautiful reddish magenta pink leaves on it, edged in that beautiful chartreuse color. So just a very nice new compact variety of Coleus. Let's take a walk around the corner and see what else is blooming. So this garden bed is a little hard to access right now. We just put down some new grass seed and some straw to hold it. And this area here, the soil was so compact that the water wouldn't go into it. So we kind of rototilled it in a sense to kind of try to loosen the soil up. But in doing so, it's still not draining the water off well, and it's creating a lot of hills and valleys. So I'm gonna walk up in the garden bed while my videographer is gonna stay on the path. So we're gonna try to just talk about some of the things from a distance here, and we'll see how this works. So in this bed right now, things that are looking good, the Agastache, this is the Raspberry Beret. This is doing beautiful right now. It's a long blooming perennial. We have it planted next to the Calicarpa Pearl Glam, which has kind of a darker foliage going on, and I think those two are pairing really beautifully. Also lining the front here are the red sun patiens, and they just continue to do great. I'm going to show you those in another garden, but they are just really looking fabulous. Also, as we go down a little bit, you'll see the white. That is the new Surefire Begonia, Surefire White. It has beautiful green foliage, bright, crisp white flowers. It would pair well with that new Cherry Cordial. But just a very clean white flower that's not turning brown, and I think really is a beautiful pop of color. We have a new Agastache, the yellow or the orange one's back there. It's Queen Nectarine. That one is also doing great, blooming all summer long, and just again a nice consistent splash of color in the form of a perennial. And then at the very end, I think maybe we're seeing a little bit of the grass down there kind of swaying in the breeze. That is the Pennisetum grass. That is Pennisetum Puppy Love, and is just looking really nice for some fall color in this garden. So let's get out of this mud hole and head over to another garden and see what's blooming. Right now I'm on the back side of the Waterfall garden, and we're going to kind of hug the edge here because the ground is actually hard enough that we're not sinking in. As you can see over here, you can see where all the footprints are sitting in, and I don't know, I think we're going to have to come through and just redo this area again because something is clearly not going right with what we're trying to do here. So we'll just hug the edge and stay with clean feet, hopefully, as we make our way around. The first plant I want to point out is the Tough Stuff hydrangea there. That was blooming about 2 months ago. It's still got a lot of beautiful color going on, even though it's more of the spent blooms that we're seeing. But one of those plants that blooms, and even once the blooms are finished, still gives a lot of beautiful color throughout the season. There's some salvia in here, some of the rockin' fuchsia. The pollinators are just going crazy on that right now. Just kind of a nice whimsy, airy plant. A lot of the hydrangeas that we're seeing here, this is the Incredible hydrangea. These blooms were blooming in July, so right now these are just the spent blooms, which you can either trim off or leave on. We leave them on because it still has a lot of interest, even though they're not white and in their prime, it still looks very pretty. And I had to show you this. This is the reason I really wanted to come out to this garden. Firelight hydrangea right now is in its, second prime, let's say. First prime is when it's just all beautiful and white and everything's so crisp and clean. The second stage of prime is when it's at its full, fiery, hot pink color. And right now, that's right where it's at. So we're gonna come out and probably trim some of these blooms off because we wanna dry them for winter. So we'll come out and do some trimming, but this is just the prime of the firelight hydrangea. And it is looking gorgeous right now. Continuing along, there's some more hydrangeas in here, some more of the Incredible Blush, the Incredibles, all with spent blooms at this point. Here's the Weigela Sonic Bloom Pink. This one is right now currently in its third bloom cycle. So this is a re-blooming Weigela. It blooms in the spring, it blooms like around July, and here we are now the end of August, beginning of September, and it's got another cycle of blooms going on. One thing to point out too is it's not just a bloom here or there. This plant is fully covered with buds and blooms, so really a great re-blooming Weigela that gives a lot of color even in its second and third bloom cycles. We got the Color Blaze Albrido Coleus here, looking really pretty. Leucanthemum, they've all been trimmed back. And as we make our way around, we're going to see more of the red and the white sun patiens with some salvia, fuchsia tucked in as well. So let's take a walk around the garden and see what's on the other side. So this is the bed that I'm a little bit embarrassed about, but I'm going to show you because I think it's only fair that you see the good, the bad, and the ugly. And right now I feel like this one is a little bit ugly. But this is only really its first season, and a lot of these plants are just planted this year. We're learning like where the water's hitting, where the water's not hitting, what this soil is like. So this berm was just recently made, so the soil in here may not be just so we need to do some adding of fertilizers and such. So it's just really learning the area that we've planted in and understanding what likes to grow and what it takes to make these things grow. So I'm going to really just talk about the things that maybe have some interest right now. You'll see a lot of uglies along the way. Just know that, nobody's garden's perfect. So let's take a walk through this garden. Very hungry but blooming are the Mini Vista Supertunias, Mini Vista Midnight, Mini Vista Scarlet, and Mini Vista Yellow. These plants would be much larger and much fuller if they had the proper fertilizer, which they don't, but they are still giving us blooms, as well as these poor plants. I feel bad for them. These are the Mini Vista Indigo, and these are just saying, feed me, water me, do something for me, but they keep giving us flowers. So they really have been neglected and are still rewarding us. So these plants are pretty special, giving us a reward when we've been doing so much neglecting. Planted up by the re-rod there, we've got some clematis planted on the re-rod, but behind it are Sun Patiens Red, doing great in the full sun area. Again, watering is kind of an issue out here, but they're still doing very well. You'll also see some desert plain grass that is sending up its plumes. Pretty small at this point, but again, they're young plants, so they have to get started somewhere. So this spring, this rock wall was built, and we needed to do some planting behind it. So we just got behind the rock wall planted up. I see there's sprinklers kind of out here, so they're giving these plants a little extra water. But some of the things that we chose to do behind this rock wall is we started with some Sweet Romance lavender to kind of edge it. This blooms for a pretty long time. We also put some Heliopsis Bit of Honey in. So really what we should do is trim these flowers off. That way the energy can go down into the roots. But for the video, I wanted to show you flowers so you can see the flowers. But we'll have the landscapers come through and trim those flowers off so the energy can go down. Also, I wanted to create just a big patch of cone flowers. So we took several of the different color-coded Proven Winners cone flowers and created just splashes of them, kind of creating really a wave behind these rocks. So we'll have a nice wave of cone flowers next year. tucked in some little pockets across the front, we have dianthus, and this is the new dianthus funky fuchsia. So I'm excited to see those next year, how they look. Let's see what else. Oh, in the back, we did some of the new phlox. Those are the sunset coral phlox, which I really have been loving that color. A little drift here of the opening act Pinkadot. So those are the luminary series. These are the opening act series. They're going to bloom at different times. Little bit here of the Dolce Wildberry Heuchera. Some more Paint the Town fuchsias. So over there was the, what did I say those were called? Paint the Town. Oh, those are Paint the Town fuchsia. Sorry, I thought those were the new ones. Paint the Town fuchsia, some more Paint the Town fuchsia, and then tucked in the back here, it's hard to tell from these being trimmed back. Let's take a look here. Oh, more Pinkadot phlox. So they kind of did mixing it up, little groupings, so that there's kind of always little splashes of color. In the back there is some more phlox, some more of that sunset coral. And then what did they do over here? Oh, some sedum. So really what my goal was for this area is to create splashes of color in all seasons, like from spring through the end of the fall, and then a drift of coneflowers going through because those are great for the pollinators. And there's so many different coneflower colors that this is a great way that I could get a sweep of coneflowers in one area. Oh, let's see, other things blooming. In the back there is a Caryopteris. That is the Sunshine Blue 2. Yes, Sunshine Blue 2, which is the yellow foliage with the beautiful blue flowers in the fall. Behind it is some of the verbena meteor showers, the beautiful purple meteor showers, which are annual, so those always give color. Some more of the fuchsia salvia giving color. Salvia Pink Profusion. This one was blooming in the spring. They trimmed it back, and now look at this beautiful fall color. So that's another one that gives a secondary flush of color if you give it a nice light trim. We have the Little Lime Punch hydrangeas, which those are past their prime. And then in the back here, the sedum is looking beautiful. So let's take a walk to the back and check out the sedum. So for the longest time in these videos, this is the Rockin' Round Pop Star sedum. And with the foliage being kind of a bluish, darkish color, it really never looked like much because it blended in with the dark mulch. But now that the sedum has gone to color, it's really showing a beautiful, beautiful splash of magenta, reddish magenta flowers. Great pollinator plant. The bees are all over this. There's so many honeybees in these gardens and so many butterflies as well. So it's just really, really exciting to see as the plants transform when they get to their season, what they can do. Even when they may seem a little lackluster in other seasons, they will shine when it's their season to shine. Let's take a look at the 55-mile-an-hour garden before we head back to the front of the waterfall. Here we are at the 55-mile-an-hour garden, appropriately named for the cars that are flying past us at 55 plus miles an hour. This garden, its main intention is as people are driving past to turn their head. And if this garden isn't doing it, we don't know what else will. So what we have here is a beautiful mix of the Supertunia Vista Bubblegum and Supertunia Vista Paradise. So they're kind of blended together. And then along the front, we did the beautiful Lemon Coral Sedum just to kind of set the pinks off a little bit. The other thing we found, which maybe was not really intentional, but works well, is how well the Lemon Coral Sedum pairs with the sun-credible sunflowers that are on the back side of the fence. So we wanted to kind of create something on the back side of the fence that you could see from the road as well. And these sun-credibles are just peeking through the slats really nicely. The other thing we did is because we don't always want to end up planting annuals every year on the back side, is we have placed some different shrubs along the back side, but because they're so small, we needed the sunflowers to just really give us the color. So let's take a look at the shrubs that are planted that are kind of hidden, but you'll be seeing them in future years as they grow and mature. So in this garden, we kind of did the mirror image planting where we started at the center, planted one direction, and then planted the other with the same type of plants. So the first shrub that's in this bed is the Pugster periwinkle butterfly bush. As that continues to grow, it'll get bigger and will really be a statement piece in this garden. I'm going to actually back up too because everyone's going to ask if I don't say it. The black grass there, that is the Pennisetum vertigo grass. So that's just an annual grass, but again, to give a little height on the back side here of this fence. The next shrub that we have is the hibiscus, and this is a Rosa Sharon. This is purple pillar. So this is one of those Rosa Sharons that stays fairly narrow, but it's going to get quite tall. So I didn't want a hibiscus that was going to take up a ton of space, and this one certainly isn't. It'll only get maybe 3 foot tall, or 3 foot wide by 10 or so foot tall. So very columnar habit and deer resistant. So if you need a deer resistant plant, these Rosa Sharons certainly would be that. Next, tucked in here, we have an evergreen because we want something that will always have color even in the winter. So we chose the Arborvitae Fluffy, which has a beautiful chartreuse yellow going on. So that one will get, I don't know, I think that one will get maybe 6 to 8 foot tall or so, but that will give us some consistent evergreen color in this bed. Quick Fire Fab, so this is going to be a great hydrangea. This one I think gets about 8 foot tall, so this is going to really fill in big space once it does mature. But this is great for midsummer to late fall color. Spring color was done by using lilacs. This is the Bloomerang dark purple lilac. This will get about 4 to 5 foot tall when it's mature. It's a reblooming lilac, but mostly planted for the interest that it will give us in the spring. Again, I wanted winter interest, so we planted the Berry Poppins holly here. It's still very small, but I can see that it's putting on berries, so that will be exciting for this winter to see the beautiful red berries once all those leaves drop. So that will be a great addition to this garden as well. The next plant I have in here is more for summer and fall interest, and this is an oak leaf hydrangea. So it's going to have beautiful flowers on it in the summer, and in the fall it gets a fabulous burgundy foliage. So that will be a fun one to watch as well. That's the first oak leaf hydrangea that I have planted in any of the properties, my house here or the up north garden. So I'm really excited to have an oak leaf hydrangea and just see how it does. Another Berry Poppins holly. So we're starting to kind of go backwards with the plants we've already seen. We do have a Mr. Poppins also planted in the vicinity because we do need a mister for the Berry Poppins to get the berries. So got to have the mister to pollinate the misses. Another lilac. Quick Fire Fab tucked in here between the sunflowers. Another Fluffy for winter color. Purple Pillar Hibiscus. And then back again to the Pugster Amethyst. So really excited to see how these shrubs do. I'm going to say probably in the next 3 years or so, we should really start seeing some significant growth on these plants where they really become a structure in this part of the garden. Let's head on over and see the front of the waterfall now. The waterfall garden has been doing fabulous this year. I'm really happy with the red and the white sun patience that we chose. And I could probably see us doing that again next year. It's something different than we normally do with the pink tones. And the red and white, the habit of them, they're very similar habit, where in the past we've seen a lot of that up-down look where the habits were just a little bit off. But these are very comparable, same heights, and really, I think, a nice addition. I think it would be great if we could maybe get a little bit of purple petunia or something going on in here to kind of have that red, white, and blue look. Even if we don't do that in other beds, I think it would be really fun to do it in this bed, just to kind of have that patriotic theme going on. So in the back there is a beautiful tall specimen of the Pinky Winky hydrangea, and that is really gorgeous right now. It's got the white tips with the pink just towards the bottom. So that one is kind of what I'd like to say probably in its prime as far as the coloration of that plant. The next level are the Invincible Spirit 2 hydrangeas. They've all been trimmed back and putting on a couple secondary blooms or rebloomers, but really the rebloom doesn't seem to be so great for us here anyways. Tucked in here we have 2 of the blue chip butterfly bush, and those are doing really great. Great plant for the pollinators as well as the butterflies. And actually maybe that's what we could use to get that blue color. Add some more butterfly bush in for the red, white, and blue look. So we'll have to see what we come up with this winter. It's always fun when we sit down and try to decide, you know, what worked, what didn't, and what do we want to change. One thing I think I want to do next year with this space here, the flowers have done fabulous and I think they look great. I just feel like we need a little bit more maybe solid mass of something. I want to take the sunflowers and bring them down a little bit further. So kind of just framing in the waterfall a little bit more with that solid splash of yellow. We have a lot of trouble in the middle of the waterfall with the plants not doing well because sometimes they either are too dry or they get flooded out if the waterfall goes wonky. But everything in there did really good this year. The Play in the Blue Salvia, the Albrighto coleus, there's some Cleome, Senorita Blanca, and then Diamond Snow Euphorbia. All those plants have done fabulous. So I just got to try to find a way to maybe get something that will just give us a mass of color. So if you have any ideas, I'm open to suggestions. Sunflowers will stay. I think even the salvia will stay. That purple is doing really great. So maybe if we were able to just incorporate some sun patience in the middle there, that might be what we need it to do. So we'll see, open to ideas. There's always room for change for next year. One thing we did is we did a lot of repeats of plants. So obviously the sun patience, the red and the white, are lining and bordering the bed. But we did a lot of the Play in the Blue Salvia, Albrighto coleus, Senorita Blanca Cleome, Diamond Snow Euphorbia. Those are kind of like our plants that we're going to just poke in everywhere so there's some continuity in the garden. So you'll see a lot of repeats of those plants kind of tucked in here and there because those are just our fillers that we use this year. And again, they've done well. Along this front bed here, sun patience again, we have the Pennisetum rubrum grass. And then as we take a look up and over on the other side of the rubrum grass, there's Going Bananas daylilies and blue chip butterfly bush that we can see from the walking path on the inside of the garden. And I think I want to take you for a walk through that garden because we haven't done that before. So let's go take a walk through the waterfall garden. So before we did the makeover on the front of the garden center, for the past few years, we've always planted up the jellyfish planters. And it was kind of an iconic thing here at Garden Crossings that we had these beautiful big baskets with the Dichondra Silver Falls. And we thought once we had the front redone, we don't have a place for baskets. But then we remembered we do have 2 hooks out here on the arbor, so this is where the jellyfish baskets have found a home. I kind of keep forgetting about them, so to be honest, this is the first time I've talked about them in a video this year. So they've gone from planted to all of a sudden you see the end of the season. But this here is the sun patience. This is the neon rose. There's a Kimberly Queen fern in there, and then the Dichondra Silver Falls. And this is so long, it's already touching the ground. And it's such a beautiful plant as it sways in the breeze when it's windy out. Just kind of the motion that it adds to this garden space. These get pretty much sun from at least noon till the end of the day, and they are doing just fabulous out here. Also, as long as we're on the top side of the waterfall, let's take a look from the top down just to give you a perspective, an idea from that perspective. So we've been kind of adding things to this garden space over the last few years. It's still a little bit of a work in progress. A lot of these plants have been here since we bought the place about 18 years ago. So we've been taking out some of the old and adding in some new. Also, we created a walk through here this year, which before it was just all loaded with plants. So we have the limelight hydrangeas here, and they're doing really nice. Some columbine, which is a spring bloomer, along with the blue chip junior butterfly bush. We have some big leaf hydrangeas. This was loaded with big leaf hydrangeas, but they just weren't doing good, the City Line series. So we ripped all the City Lines out. We've replaced it with some of the Let's Dance series, and we found that by using the Let's Dance series, they've done a lot better job of faithfully blooming year after year. Also in this garden space, we have a lot of Baptisia. So this is our spring color. These are part of the Decadent series, and obviously they're done flowering now, but the structure of this plant kind of has a shrub look to it. So really a nice form in the garden, nice greenery. These will get trimmed back to the ground in the fall as a perennial does, but just really nice structure in this space, even when it's not in flower. We have another new Agastache tucked in here. This is the Queen Nectarine, the orange one, and that's doing really nice. Queen Bee Nectarine, long blooming. We've also got a couple new alliums in here. These are allium blue bubbles. There's just one flower there right now. They're kind of at the end of their cycle. Tucked under the hydrangea, because it needs a little bit of shade, is the Heuchera dressed up ball gown. These were just recently planted, so they're still quite small, and the little bit of dryness you're seeing is just because they didn't get enough water right away when they were planted. Here's a new cone flower for next year. This is the Echinacea raspberry sorbet, and you can see a lot of the different variations of color on this plant. This is probably the cleanest, newest flower, and then as they age, they lighten up. And even though this is a very spent, dried bloom, it has really nice color to it. It held its color well, and it's not very brown. So raspberry sorbet, that's really pretty. Another of the Weigela, this is the Sonic Bloom Pink, and you can see here too, a lot of flowers and a lot of buds. So this one is also doing great with its third round of blooming. Coreopsis, this has been in here for quite a while. I believe this one is like uptick gold and bronze, or red and bronze, or gold and bronze, but really a beautiful little splash of color. But this here, I wanted to show you the beautiful hedge here of the blue chip butterfly bush from this angle, and just the beautiful massive color that this gives into this garden space. Thanks for hanging with me. One more garden and this tour will be complete. The last garden on the tour is our south garden bed. This has been here for about 3 years now. We've been kind of adding to it every year. It also is a mix of annuals, perennials, and shrubs. You can see the mass colors of the Supertunia Vista Bubblegum along with the Supertunia Paradise. That's just really what's grabbing the eye to this garden. And then there's just a lot of pollinator plants in here. We really tried to create this as a pollinator garden with things that the different pollinators and butterflies would enjoy. We have the salvia up front here, the Rockin' Fuchsia salvia, great plant for hummingbirds as well as bumblebees. The meteor showers verbena, always a great choice. Along the front here, we have it lined with lemon coral sedum, as well as some of the Paint the Town fancy dianthus, which give us color early season, and you can see Fancy is still blooming here at this time. A new lantana for 2023 is the Basket Tangelo, and this has been doing really well. The orange, the yellow, a little bit of pink coming through, but this is a grouping of 3 and just really a nice plant if you're looking for like a mass of color. We also have some lobelia, which is just towards the end of its bloom cycle. We have the little gold sour rudbeckia. Those are just always a great plant to add that splash of golden to the garden. Playing the blue salvia. Blue Chip Junior up in the front. Monarch was just passing through. And we did a lot here with the salvia because they're just creating a beautiful mass of color. As we get to the end of this bed, we have some veronica, which is more spring color. We have some storm cloud Amsonia, which is great spring color. So right now they're just looking like little green bushes, but in the spring they're a gorgeous, gorgeous periwinkle blue flower. We also have some penstemon here, and this has got nice foliage even though it's done flowering. This is the onyx and pearls. This usually blooms in about June or so here in Michigan, but great foliage nonetheless right now. And more of the Basket Tangelo lantana, just doing fabulous and pairing really well, I think, with this bubblegum Supertunia. Let's take a look at the back side of this garden and see more of what's blooming. In this little portion of the garden, we again have it lined with a Supertunia Vista Paradise. These beautiful black upward looking whimsy plants. Those are sweet potato vine, new sweet potato vine for next year. The Upside series, coffee, dark coffee, black coffee, something coffee. But really doing a nice job. They're climbing up those sticks. Here we have a grouping of 3 of the Firelight Tidbit hydrangeas, and those are just like I said earlier, such a cute little compact hydrangea, just beautiful coloration. I really haven't talked much about daylilies at all in the garden, and that's because we really don't have a ton planted. So in this area here we have some going bananas along with some storm shelter, because I really love this color here of the storm shelter daylily. Earlier color, we had some Invincible Ruby hydrangeas, which right now they're at the end of their cycle, so they're really not doing a whole lot as far as interest. Up front, the 3 little plants you're seeing, those are Stokesia Peachy's Pick. If you watch the garden tours from earlier in the season, more midsummer, those were absolutely gorgeous, just filled with a mass of purple blooms. A shrub with great fall color is Caryopteris. Beautiful dark flowers, pollinator's dream. There's honeybees all over this. This particular one here is called Beyond Midnight, which I think is a great name for the color of the blue we're seeing there. We also have some Nephophia that are still blooming. Rocket's Red Glare is the one we're seeing mostly here blooming. Another Caryopteris up front is the Sunshine Blue 2. And then as you look at the top of the hill, you'll see there's little groupings of Pugster Butterfly Bush. The purple ones up front here are Pugster Blue. Because this is a butterfly garden, we have Aesculapius planted in this garden. Several different varieties and species of Aesculapius. This particular one here is an annual, and it's called Hairy Balls. And what it has here is these beautiful seed pods on it. So these all are just loaded with seeds. So we'll cut this ball open, and then we'll dry the seeds that are inside. So you can see they're smaller the newer they are. So we'll let them go as far as we can in the season until it gets really, cold and a good hard frost. Oh, look what I see here. That is a monarch caterpillar on the plant, and that's exactly what we are trying to attract to this plant. So just kind of a fun plant, interesting, seed pods going on. Beautiful flowers too. I mean, the white dangling flowers are so cute. So attracting the monarchs to this garden. And as we can see, with a caterpillar on there, it's doing its job. Other plants we have in here are some of the reblooming lilacs. These are the dwarf lilacs up front. And then we've got the larger blue lilac, bloomerang dark purple in the back there. So these we wanted to keep smaller just because it is kind of front border of the garden. Atlas rose, some more of the pugster butterfly bushes. There's the pinker, amethyst. Here's a proudberry shrub. This is planted for fall interest. It gets little pink berries on it. They're just starting right now, but probably in the next month or two we'll see probably about centimeter, a little smaller than centimeter size pink berries. Really a unique plant to add to the garden. Some more going bananas daylilies, a cluster of cone flowers, and then back here we have the beautiful Holy Grail hibiscus with a dark foliage and the bright crimson flowers. Really a great plant for the fall or late summer garden. So a lot of beautiful things going on right now in this garden. I hope you've enjoyed this tour. If this is the first time watching, I encourage you to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. I always love to know what you're thinking and what really intrigued you with this garden. Thank you for walking through the garden with me today. This is Heidi from Garden Crossings.